Imagine a road, a colossal artery of asphalt and dreams, stretching nearly 30,000 kilometers from the icy shores of Prudhoe Bay in Alaska all the way to the windswept tip of Ushuaia in Argentina. It's the Pan American Highway, the longest road in the world, a testament to human ingenuity and our desire to connect. You can drive it, almost all of it. But there is a break, a single stubborn gap where the ribbon of civilization unravels and vanishes into an unforgiving wilderness. This place is the Darién Gap, a name whispered with a mixture of awe and fear amongst adventurers and explorers. It's the point on the map where the modern world simply stops, surrendering to the raw, untamed power of nature. Here, at the isthmus connecting Central and South America, the jungle reclaims its dominion. The hum of engines is replaced by the deafening chorus of insects and the calls of unseen creatures. For a mere 100 kilometers, the world's greatest highway is defeated, swallowed by a primordial landscape that has resisted conquest for centuries. This isn't just a missing piece of road. It's a profound statement. It is a physical reminder that despite all our technology, our concrete and our steel, there are still places on this planet that refuse to be tamed. The Darién Gap is more than just a geographical anomaly. It is a living, breathing fortress of nature, the final frontier on the American continents. For those who dare to venture past the last dusty outpost in Yavisa, Panama, or the final settlement of Turbo in Colombia, the world changes in an instant. You are stepping back in time into a realm governed not by laws and timetables, but by the relentless cycle of rain, sun, and survival. The air grows thick, heavy, with the scent of damp earth and decay, a potent perfume of life and death intertwined. Every step forward is a battle, a negotiation with a landscape that seems actively hostile to human presence. This is the ultimate survival challenge, a place that tests the limits of human endurance and resolve like few others on Earth. This is where the adventure truly begins, but it's an adventure that comes with immense risks. The Darién Gap is not a park or a reserve in the conventional sense. It is a crucible. It's a place that has broken expeditions, swallowed fortunes, and claimed lives. It stands as a wild, unconquered heart, separating two continents, its secrets guarded by a near impenetrable wall of green. To understand the Darién is to understand the enduring power of the wild and to respect the boundaries that nature itself has drawn. It is the final, emphatic full stop at the end of a very long sentence written by humanity. So, where exactly is this formidable wilderness? The Darién Gap straddles the border between Panama and Colombia, forming a natural land bridge that is as inhospitable as it is vital. Geographically, it is a bottleneck of immense complexity. On the Panamanian side, it encompasses the Darién National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, while on the Colombian side, it extends into the Los Catillos National Park. But these titles do little to convey the sheer brutal reality of the terrain. It is a region defined by what it lacks: roads, infrastructure, and any semblance of modern control. Its geography is its primary defense mechanism, a chaotic jumble of natural barriers. The area is a sprawling expanse of some of the world's most dense and remote rainforest. But it's not just jungle. The landscape is dominated by the Serranía del Darién, a formidable mountain range that runs along the Colombian border, with peaks soaring over 1,800 meters. These mountains are not gentle rolling hills. They are steep, jagged, and cloaked in a perpetual shroud of mist and cloud. They act as a colossal rain catcher, feeding a labyrinthine network of powerful rivers and creating vast, unforgiving swamps. The combination of precipitous mountains and low-lying wetlands creates a landscape of brutal, vertical challenges and waterlogged despair. The sheer hydrological complexity is staggering. The region is crisscrossed by countless rivers, including the mighty Atrato and Tuira rivers, which are more like moving swamps than simple waterways. During the punishing rainy season, these rivers swell to many times their normal size, flooding vast swathes of the lowlands and turning the jungle floor into a treacherous, muddy quagmire. Crossing these rivers is a life-threatening undertaking, with unpredictable currents and a host of unseen dangers lurking beneath the murky surface. This constant presence of water, whether falling from the sky or flowing across the land, defines every aspect of life and travel within the gap. This unique and challenging geography is precisely why the Darién Gap remains a gap. It is a place where nature has assembled its most formidable defenses in one concentrated area. You have the mountains that block easy passage, the swamps that bog you down, the rivers that bar your way, and the relentless jungle that conceals it all. It's a perfect storm of geographical obstacles, a natural fortress that has defied engineers, governments, and adventurers for centuries. It's not simply a forest you can walk through, it is a three-dimensional maze of vertical climbs, deep mud, and raging water. Let's get our boots on the ground and really feel this place. The jungle here is not like the ones you see in films. It's a physical presence. The canopy is so thick that in many places, the forest floor is cast in a perpetual twilight, even at midday. The humidity is a physical weight, sticking to your skin, drenching your clothes, and making every breath feel like you're inhaling water. The ground underfoot is a chaotic mess of tangled roots, slick with moss, and covered in a deep layer of decaying leaves that can hide deep holes or venomous snakes. Every step requires conscious thought and effort, draining your energy at an alarming rate. Then there is the weather, a character in its own right and a cruel one at that. The Darién experiences one of the most intense rainy seasons on the planet, typically lasting from May to December. We're not talking about a few showers. We're talking about relentless torrential downpours that can last for days on end. This biblical rainfall transforms the entire landscape, turning gentle streams into raging torrents and dry ground into sucking mud that can pull the boots right off your feet. This constant wetness breeds rot, fungus, and a host of skin infections, making simple hygiene a monumental task and a critical component of survival. And of course, there are the animals. The Darién Gap is teeming with wildlife, and not all of it is friendly. This is the realm of the jaguar and the puma, powerful predators that move silently through the undergrowth. The swamps and rivers are home to crocodiles and caimans, ancient reptiles that wait patiently for a moment of carelessness. But often, it's the smaller creatures that pose the greatest threat. The jungle is alive with an incredible diversity of snakes, including the notoriously venomous fer-de-lance, whose bite can be fatal. Add to that spiders, scorpions, and swarms of mosquitoes carrying malaria, dengue fever, and other tropical diseases. This combination of extreme terrain, hostile weather, and dangerous fauna makes the Darién Gap a true fortress of nature. It's a place that fights back. The mountains exhaust you, the swamps imprison you, and the animals can kill you. It's a sensory overload of buzzing insects, dripping water, and the constant, unnerving feeling of being watched. To survive here, you must be in a state of constant vigilance, respecting the power of your surroundings and understanding that you are not the apex predator in this environment. You are an intruder, and the jungle makes you feel it with every single step. The Pan-American Highway is an astonishing feat of engineering, a symbol of hemispheric unity. So why does it grind to a halt at the edge of this jungle? The simple answer is that building a road through the Darién Gap is one of the most difficult, expensive, and controversial construction projects imaginable. The challenges that face a lone adventurer are magnified 1,000 times over for an engineering project. The terrain alone presents a nightmare scenario for road builders. How do you lay a stable foundation in a swamp that is meters deep? How do you blast a path through mountains that are constantly being eroded by torrential rain? The financial cost is astronomical. A 1992 study estimated the cost to be over $1 billion, and that figure would be significantly higher today. The project would require building hundreds of bridges to span the countless rivers and streams that dissect the landscape. These aren't simple bridges. They would need to be engineered to withstand the colossal force of flash floods that can wash away entire sections of the riverbank in a matter of hours. The logistics of getting heavy machinery, building materials, and a workforce into such a remote and hostile environment would be a monumental undertaking in itself, pushing the costs into the stratosphere. Beyond the physical and financial hurdles, there are huge environmental concerns. The Darién Gap is a unique biological corridor, the only land bridge connecting the ecosystems of North and South America. For millennia, it has allowed for the interchange of species, but has also acted as a natural filter. Building a road would effectively slice this corridor in two, creating a barrier for many ground-dwelling animals and potentially fragmenting populations. More critically, a road would open the floodgates to illegal logging, poaching, and settlement, leading to catastrophic deforestation in one of the world's last great wildernesses. The ecological price is one many believe is far too high to pay. Finally, there is the issue of disease control. The Darién Gap has acted as a natural barrier preventing the spread of certain agricultural diseases. One of the most significant is foot and mouth disease, a highly contagious viral illness that affects cattle and other livestock. South America has struggled with outbreaks for decades, while North and Central America are free of it. A road through the gap could create a pathway for the disease to travel north, potentially devastating the North American cattle industry. For this reason alone, agricultural bodies and governments have vehemently opposed the project, adding another powerful voice to the coalition against completing the highway. The Darién Gap is often described as an empty wilderness, but honestly, that is far from the truth. This jungle has been home to people for thousands of years. The primary indigenous groups living within the gap are the Kuna, also known as the Guna, the Embera, and the Wunan. These communities have a relationship with the forest that is profoundly different from our own. For them, the jungle is not an obstacle to be conquered. It is their home, their supermarket, their pharmacy, and their church. They have developed an incredible knowledge of the land, navigating its complex waterways by canoe, and living a life that is intricately woven into the natural rhythms of the environment. For these indigenous peoples, the construction of a road represents an existential threat. Their way of life is dependent on the health and integrity of the forest. A highway would bring with it an influx of outsiders, settlers, loggers, and miners who do not share their reverence for the land. This would inevitably lead to conflict over resources, deforestation of their ancestral territories, and the erosion of their unique cultures. The road would not be a path to progress for them, but a vector for destruction, disease, and displacement, severing the deep spiritual and physical connection they have with their homeland. The Kuna people, who primarily inhabit the San Blas Islands and the northern coast of the Darién, have a high degree of political autonomy and have been incredibly effective at protecting their lands. The Embera and Wunan, who live deeper within the jungle, are renowned for their incredible craftsmanship, particularly their intricate wood carvings and basketry. They live in small, scattered communities, often along the banks of the many rivers that serve as their highways. Their survival depends on hunting, fishing, and small-scale agriculture, practices that have been sustained for centuries without destroying the forest that supports them. Protecting the rights and the lands of these indigenous groups is one of the most compelling arguments for leaving the Darién Gap as it is. They are the true guardians of this wilderness, possessing generations of knowledge about its plants, animals, and cycles. Their presence has helped to preserve the forest far more effectively than any government decree or park designation. Listening to their voices and respecting their sovereignty is not just a matter of human rights. It is a crucial strategy for the conservation of this globally important region. The future of the Darién and the future of its first peoples are inextricably linked. The same features that make the Darién Gap so dangerous for humans? Well, they actually make it a perfect sanctuary for an astonishing diversity of wildlife. Because it's so remote and inaccessible, it's become a final refuge for many species that have been pushed out of other parts of Central and South America. This is honestly one of the few places left on Earth where you can still find healthy populations of some of the America's most iconic and endangered animals. It's really a living laboratory of evolution, a place where the intricate web of life remains largely intact and, undisturbed by human development. The roll call of species here is just incredible. The Gap is home to the majestic harpy eagle, one of the world's largest and most powerful eagles, which preys on sloths and monkeys up in the high canopy. It's also a critical habitat for large mammals like the Baird's tapir, a gentle pig-like creature that's often called the gardener of the forest for its role in dispersing seeds. All 5 species of Central American big cats, the jaguar, puma, ocelot, margai, and jaguarundi, prowl this jungle, which is a clear indicator of a healthy and complete ecosystem. The forests are alive with the chatter of 3 different species of monkeys, including the Jeffroy's spider monkey. The importance of the Darién as a biological corridor, honestly, can't be overstated. It's the slender land bridge that allowed for the Great American Biotic Interchange, which was a massive migration of animals between the 2 continents millions of years ago. And that process actually continues today, just on a smaller scale. Animals move through the gap, making sure there's genetic diversity between populations in North and South America. If that corridor were ever to be severed by a road, it would basically create isolated islands of habitat, leaving populations vulnerable to inbreeding and local extinction. The gap really serves as the vital artery that keeps the continental ecosystem connected. Protecting this biodiversity is honestly a global responsibility. The Darién National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site precisely because of this unique ecological value. It contains an incredible number of endemic species, plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth. The intricate balance of this ecosystem has evolved over millennia, and it's incredibly fragile. The introduction of a single road could trigger a cascade of negative effects, from deforestation and habitat loss to the spread of invasive species and diseases. Preserving the Darién Gap isn't just about saving a piece of jungle, it's about safeguarding a critical piece of our planet's natural heritage. While the natural dangers of the Darién Gap are formidable, in recent decades, the human element has become perhaps the most significant and unpredictable threat to anyone attempting a crossing. The isolation that protects the wildlife also makes the region a perfect hiding place and transit corridor for illicit activities. For years, the Colombian side of the Gap, in particular, has been a battleground for various armed groups, including guerrilla fighters, paramilitaries, and powerful drug cartels. These groups have used the jungle's impenetrability to their advantage, setting up camps, trafficking routes, and coca plantations. For any traveler, stumbling upon one of these groups can be a death sentence. They are highly suspicious of outsiders, who may be perceived as spies for rival gangs or the government. There are, honestly, numerous harrowing accounts of explorers and migrants being kidnapped, robbed, or even murdered by these armed factions. The presence of these groups adds a terrifying layer of psychological stress to the already immense physical challenge of the journey. Unlike a snake or a river, a human threat is unpredictable and malicious, and navigating this danger is often a matter of pure dumb luck. In more recent years, the Darién Gap has become a major route for migrants from around the world seeking to travel north to the United States. These are not hardened adventurers. They're desperate families, men, women, and children fleeing poverty, violence, and instability in their home countries. They are often ill-prepared for the horrors of the jungle and are brutally exploited by human traffickers, known as coyotes, who charge exorbitant fees for a guided journey that more often than not involves abandonment, robbery, and violence. The humanitarian crisis unfolding in the Darién is a tragedy of epic proportions. This influx of people has put an immense strain on the fragile environment and on the indigenous communities, who are often the first to encounter these desperate travelers. The migrant trails are, unfortunately, littered with discarded clothing, plastic bottles, and human waste, scarring the pristine jungle and polluting the rivers. For anyone considering crossing the Darién, the reality is stark. You will be entering a region that is not just a natural wilderness, but also a complex and dangerous theater of human desperation and criminality. The risk of encountering hostile armed groups or witnessing profound human suffering is incredibly high, making the crossing more perilous than ever before. The dream of conquering the Darién is not a new one. It's a story littered with ambitious failures, stretching back centuries. In the 1690s, Scotland, in a bid to become a major colonial power, launched the disastrous Darién scheme. They tried to establish a colony called New Caledonia on the coast, hoping to create an overland trade route between the Atlantic and Pacific. The plan was a catastrophic failure. Plagued by disease, starvation, poor planning, and the unforgiving environment, the colony collapsed within a few years, bankrupting the nation of Scotland and contributing to its political union with England in 1707. The jungle had claimed its first major victory. Fast forward to the 20th century and the age of the automobile. As the Pan-American Highway project gained momentum, several daring expeditions set out to prove that a crossing was possible. In 1960, a team using Land Rovers and a support aircraft made one of the first successful overland crossings, but it was a brutal slog that took nearly 5 months. They had to build countless makeshift bridges, winch their vehicles through deep mud, and float them across rivers on rafts. Their journey demonstrated not the feasibility of a road, but the sheer, monumental difficulty of the terrain. One of the most famous attempts was the British Trans-America's expedition of 1971 to 72, led by the explorer John Blashford Snell. With military support and specially prepared Range Rovers, this massive expedition took 100 days to navigate the 400-kilometer stretch of jungle. Even with immense resources, they faced incredible challenges, with vehicles constantly getting bogged down and team members suffering from insect bites, infections, and exhaustion. Their successful crossing served as a powerful testament to the Gap's defiance, proving that even with modern technology and military-style logistics, the jungle would not be easily tamed. Since then, plans for the road have been proposed and shelved time and time again. A consortium of international funders and governments pushed for the project in the 1970s, but it was halted by environmental lawsuits. Further studies in the 1990s again highlighted the immense costs and ecological risks. Each generation rediscovers the same harsh truths. The Darién Gap is too wet, too mountainous, too swampy, and just too ecologically valuable to pave over. The long history of failure is not just a record of human hubris. It's a powerful argument for leaving this wild place alone, a lesson written in mud, sweat, and rusted metal. In a world that is increasingly mapped, paved, and connected, the Darién Gap stands as a powerful and defiant symbol of the untamed. It's one of the planet's last truly wild places, a region where the authority of nature is still absolute. Its existence challenges our modern assumption that every corner of the globe can and should be accessible and controlled. The Gap serves as a vital benchmark, a baseline of what a rich, tropical ecosystem looks like when left to its own devices. It's a living museum of biodiversity and a stark reminder of the raw power that our planet possesses. The value of the Darién Gap lies precisely in its impassability. It's a natural barrier that has provided invaluable services for free. It has protected the agricultural industries of North America from diseases, preserved a unique biological corridor for wildlife, and sheltered the ancestral lands of indigenous peoples who are its most effective stewards. To build a road through it would be to trade these priceless long-term benefits for the short-term convenience of a continuous highway. It would be an act of profound ecological and cultural vandalism from which there would be no recovery. The Darién matters because it forces us to confront our limits. It teaches a lesson in humility. For centuries, it has resisted our best efforts at conquest, from colonial ambitions to modern engineering. It shows us that there are forces far older and more powerful than our own ambition. In an age of climate change and mass extinction, the wisdom of leaving such a place intact seems more obvious than ever. The gap is a functioning lung for the planet, a storehouse of genetic diversity, and a source of clean water and air. Its value cannot be measured in dollars or kilometers of asphalt. So, the next time you look at a map of the Americas and see that small, frustrating break in the Pan-American highway, don't see it as a failure. See it as a victory. See it as a sanctuary, a fortress of life that has held its ground against all odds. The Darién Gap is not a problem to be solved. It's a treasure to be protected. It is a testament to the fact that even in the 21st century, there are still places where the world is wild, mysterious, and gloriously, stubbornly untamed. And for the health of our planet, and for the good of our own souls, we should hope it stays that way.